for some people who are a bit, I'm going to say voluptuous, and they have on the spandex, it's an even more attention for that person, and it's so very uncomfortable.
Yes.
But you don't want to go in and you don't want to have on the sweats and everything that's going to make you sweat even more. You want to be comfortable in your spandex.
And you want to be able to
but
move.
that attention, but you see the eyes, you see the stares, and it's very
Yes, you look up in the mirror and you can see eyes on you, and you're just like, oh, now where do I look?
Exactly.
But then when I think about going to a park and it's getting late at night, that sounds like an episode of Dateline where I'm gonna get kidnapped and end up in a really bad position.
Yep.
So that's something that isn't really easy. Like if you're not like a big, scary dude, like you're just like a small person, like a small girl, it's like kind of scary. Like you can't really defend yourself, and you're like easy target for if someone's has some nefarious intent.
You're wearing a neon light, easy target.
Yeah, exactly. Me and my little 20-pound dog like walking around, like we're not scary.
It's not going to protect you.
Absolutely not.
Walking into a gym can be intimidating for many of us, whether it's that we're insecure about the way we look, or that we might not know what we're doing, or that we just don't feel like we belong, or maybe it's the fear that we're gonna get hit on or gawked at by someone. It's an intimidation that really does prevent many of us from working out. And later we'll talk to fitness expert, ZeroSweatFitness founder, Greg Burwell, about why fitness doesn't have to look like the gym and all of its intimidating factors. So I want to talk a little bit about, this whole show's talking about the obstacles we face and what stands in our way from achieving fitness and from moving more. And a big factor, which I connect to personally, is the intimidation factor of walking into a gym. And I just have to say, when I walk into a gym, and I actually have my certification in personal training, or I've let it lapse, but years ago I had it for about 10 years, and I spent a great deal of time working in that industry because it complemented what I did with the ballet. So I know how to use the equipment, I know what I'm doing, but yet I still walk into a gym and feel a sense of anxiety and a sense of, I wish I could disappear. And I find often that I want to go into a corner, and whatever resistable or small piece of equipment I can use in that corner is all I'm comfortable doing. And that's just a tragedy, I think. So I'm just curious, what do you guys feel when you walk into a gym?
So honestly, I feel the same way. There was a time where I would struggle, where I had this really expensive gym membership at Lifetime, and then I would realize I'd use it maybe 2 days a month, and I'm like, why am I spending all this money? And I realized that I'm not even going. And it was really frustrating because I was like, what's the reason? There has to be a reason that's stopping me from getting in the car and going, because it's only 5 minutes away from me. So it's not like it's a 30-minute drive and there's all these obstacles. What's stopping me from going? And I noticed that whenever I'd go, and also, I do have a 9 to 5, so there's a certain amount of time that, I can't really go in the morning because it's a little chaotic, and also I'm not really a morning person, so that's one thing.
There's that.
Yeah, so generally, it's a thing where I end up going around 5:30, once work is done. And then also, everyone else who has a 9 to 5 is going at 5:30. So it's one of those things where when you do go, it's packed. And then I get there, and I was noticing I would get just so overwhelmed, and kind of I would have this sense of almost anger, why is there so many people here? And it's it's not these people's fault that they're here, but it was more of an internal conflict that I was having, where I was the fact that all these people are here, I feel I don't belong here, and I feel overwhelmed, that if I do make a mistake or I don't know what I'm doing, people are going to be
spotlight on you.
Yeah, spotlight on me, when obviously everyone's just doing their own thing. But it's an internal conflict I was having, where literally I would just get super overwhelmed. If I was trying to get through to different machines and there was people there, I would just get really frustrated. And I felt I would have to just grab my little weights, go into a little corner, and do my little workout that I would literally just find on YouTube. And I'm like, why is I going to do that at home? Why am I coming to the gym? Yeah, exactly. So that was something that definitely I struggled with, and just had to come to terms that everyone's here to try to like better themselves, and everyone's trying to like use this as their outlet and use this as a time. So I just have to like figure out how I fit into this and not feel like I need to like, and also I notice sometimes that if I am on the floor, I have to like make myself small. Like I can't like do my workouts. Like I feel like, oh,
You can't own your space.
Right, yeah. So that was something that it was all like in my head, and I need to like, and it comes from like a sense of feeling like a lack of confidence, like an insecurity, where it's like I don't feel confident in myself coming here because half the time I don't really know what these, what to do, what exercises to do, what these machines look like, because half the time they're
What is that for?
crazy looking contraptions that like I literally just know how to use, like the leg press, or at least when I started I was like, okay, I know how to do that one. So yeah, a lot of it stems from like insecurity, and I feel like once you master that, which is extremely hard, which I still have not mastered it, then it starts to feel a little better. But even then, it's a very intimidating place.
100%. I mean, there's a whole lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
I mean, and my mind was just going left and right. And one of the things you mentioned about the equipment being so overwhelming is that it isn't designed for us. And that's something that I learned pretty early on from Greg, actually, is that, half the time the equipment doesn't fit our frames. They're fit for the man who's much wider in the shoulders. And so by the time you make adjustments in this equipment, it's all messed up, and you're modifying everything. Everybody looks at you like you don't know how to use that piece of equipment. And you're like, no, actually, I'm just trying to make it work for my body. But yeah, it can be overwhelming. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm curious, Aquilla, does any of this resonate?
All of it resonates with me. You definitely covered it. I mean, precisely. Just that lack of confidence, lack of insecurity, just going to the equipment and looking and feeling somewhat embarrassed because I'm looking at the equipment, I'm reading and trying to determine what's the proper way to use the equipment. And I'm worried about if somebody's looking at me and
reading me.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't know what
She doesn't know. Why is she here? But precisely, that's the reason that you're there, to learn, but it's still an uncomfortable feeling. So I too would find myself going to a corner, trying to determine what I need to do next. And also,
Don't see me.
Yes, exactly. And also trying to find out, you go in the gym and you're not supposed to work every body part on the same day. So even trying to figure that out. And sometimes the gym can be a place where you have unwanted attention as well.
Yeah.
So you're trying to work out and someone may come up pretending to wanting to help you, but there's an alternative motive for that.
Yep.
So that is very uncomfortable. So it has allowed me not to really want to go in for those reasons, knowing I need to be there. But yes, all of that, in addition to what you've already explained.
You hit it right on the head. I feel like it's a masculine space. Like our society has intended for the gym to be a masculine dominating space. And so immediately, how do we feel in a masculine space? Sometimes like a piece of, or like prey. You know what I mean? Like, so we work very hard to look nice everywhere we go, including the gym. But unfortunately, a lot of gym attire is spandex. And so instantly when you step into a room wearing tight fitting clothing and there are men everywhere, what do you feel like? Hello, vulnerable. You feel like you're about to be attacked. And it may or may not be true. I mean, I feel like as I'm getting older, I'm realizing it's just a trained thing that is in my head. It's a behavior that I've learned. Men are around and they're going to be inappropriate and they're going to make you uncomfortable. And so I anticipate it and I immediately shut down. And so I am noticing that. So whether it's real or whether it's not, it's there. It's an intimidation factor. And so, yeah, is that why you think it is that we feel this intimidation? Do you think it's in our heads or do you think it is real?
So it's interesting because of like when I was sort of analyzing why I was feeling that way of like, oh, how do I feel? Like, why do I feel so scared to go to the gym? Like that was one thing that did come up. I was thinking, but then I really thought about it a little further and I was like, okay, in general, like I feel like 90%, and this is my like opinion, like it could be wrong, but I feel like 90% of men are literally just going to the gym because that's like that's the way that they feel that they can, their outlet, their place of self-care, the place that they can like, go and dust off the day and just like, feel like they're getting their, their pump in, and they feel like their blood flowing. Because obviously when you
feel like a man.
When you work out, you have all these endorphins and all these lovely feelings, and it's a stress reliever. And like it's one of those things, but like for example, like my boyfriend and my dad, like those are two men that I respect and admire a lot.
And you feel
it's like,
safe around.
I feel safe around. So, and it's you know, if my dad and my boyfriend are there, like I know they're there just because they want to work out, they want to feel good. That's like their form of self-care. So that, I feel like 90%, like if not more of men are doing that. But then there's that like 10%, like they're kind of like the loud minority that they're just like saying like, oh, they're the ones that ruin it for everyone. And
it only takes one.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It only takes one, right? So it's really interesting because and that's the thing is like, because I don't want to demonize all men because you know, 90% more are amazing and they're just there to do their thing. But then there's that small percentage of people that they ruin it for everyone and they create this really toxic environment, right?
Yep.
And then what happens is that then you create this like weird dynamic where men don't even want to talk to other women, even if they're just like helping or being friendly because I don't want to feel like I'm flirting with them because of that weird dynamic of people who do that, right?
Right.
And then it is really interesting because like, you know, men like for example, there has been even a case where like I was listening to these two trainers that I don't even think they're there anymore. Maybe something happened, but they were like bragging about how they got to work with this like one girl who they thought was attractive and this and that. And I'm like, oh, that makes you uncomfortable because like, and I was actually in my corner doing my weights and I was overhearing them say this and I'm like, oh no. So
it just validates all of your worst fears.
But then that's the small percentage. And it's one of those things where like at the end of the day, like there are gonna be people like that. So you just have to almost, like you said, like you just have to reframe your mindset that there's going to be people like that are inappropriate or whatever. Wherever you go. But for the most part, everyone, like most of the people there, the majority of people there are just there to better themselves. So in a way, you almost have to just like drown out the noise. And like if they do come up to you to try to flirt, it's like, okay, well, just do your thing. Like that's, I guess, who you are, but I'm just here to like better myself. So it's like,
well, and see, that's where I struggle. I feel like that could be a whole nother episode. Like the boundary of when someone does approach you inappropriately, like, because if you react a certain way, you're looked at as the B. You know what I mean? Like you're so rude and you're so nasty. And I hate to say this, I love my mom dearly, but I still remember I learned at an early age that if you speak to a boy or you say hello or you smile, he instantly thinks you like him. And it's like, so then you quickly develop this like, I'm not talking to you. And so then I can remember my mom saying, don't be so snooty. Don't be so, be nice, be nice. And so then you're drilled, be nice, be nice, be nice. And so here you are stuck in this like, how do I draw that boundary that makes me feel safe and protected? And blocks the riffraff, if you will, but doesn't make you appear snooty or, you know, like the bee. So I think it's a conundrum.
It's like, where do you find that balance? Yes. And another thing of the intimidation, whether the attention is warranted or not, but as females, we always want to look our best. But when I go into the gym, I want to be my most natural. So when people are approaching, you know, I don't have any makeup, I don't have anything. I'm thinking, okay, I'm not looking my best. And if someone's approaching me, I don't want them to see me in this natural state. You know what I'm saying? So for me, that's intimidating as well, you know, as they're coming up to me. And I want to make sure,
of not looking your best.
Insecurity of not looking my best. And also, what is the attire I have on? Am I co-branding something, which for the gym rats, that's a no-no. You know, you wear all of the same brand. It's all of that, trying to determine what it is that I'm going to wear. And to your point, for some people who are a bit, I'm going to say voluptuous, and they have on the spandex, it's an even more attention for that person, and it's so very uncomfortable. But you don't want to go in and you don't want to have on the sweats and everything that's going to make you sweat even more. You want to be comfortable in your spandex. And you want to be able to move. That attention, but you know, you see the eyes, you see the stares, and it's very
you look up in the mirror and you can see eyes on you, and you're just like, oh, now where do I look?
Exactly.
Well, can't use that piece of equipment because it puts my rear end in the air.
Absolutely.
It's sad what we have to think about. And just in general, I feel like, not because men are bad or whatever, but they don't fully understand how we are always sort of on guard, if you will. We do have to watch our safety in all environments, more so than they do. You know, like just for instance, if I'm going to put stuff in the back seat of my car and I'm in a parking deck, I feel nervous because my back is turned and I don't see anyone approaching. That's not something men think about. They're not worried about their 6 o'clock, if you will, but we do. And so I think that contributes to that intimidation in a gym of just we're constantly watching our security and protecting ourselves. piggybacking on the fact that we feel unsafe and we always have to watch our six, another example of that, particularly with fitness, is a lot of people like to go outside. All the activities you mentioned earlier, I was like, oh, somebody likes to be outside. But that's not so simple for us, because if we get up early to do our routine, it's dark out. And to step outside by yourself as a woman when it's dark, it's different. It's something we have to think about. We have to think about security. And same, especially when the time changes after work, sometimes the sun is setting by like 5:30 or getting off work, it's already dark out. And I personally don't feel comfortable, even if I'm on my bike, going outside in the dark. That seems scary to me. Do you guys feel the same?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like something that I love taking like walks, like just, even though it's not super high intensity, it's just something that helps me like de-stress
Clear
and
your mind.
clear my mind. And also I do feel like I'm getting my blood moving and everything. But sometimes like I'll walk around my apartment building, but then sometimes I'm like, oh, like, my apartment building's nice, but I'd love to go to like a park. I'd love to like change up my scenery. But then when I think about going to a park and it's getting late at night, that sounds like an episode of Dateline where I'm gonna get kidnapped and end up in a really bad position.
Yep.
So that's something that isn't really easy. Like if you're not like a big, scary dude, like you're just like a small person, like a small like girl, like, it's like kind of scary. Like you can't really defend yourself and you're like easy target for, if someone's has some nefarious
Yeah, you
intent.
feel like you're wearing a neon light. Easy target.
Yeah, exactly. Me and my little 20-pound dog like walking around. Like we're not scary.
Dog's not going to protect you.
Absolutely not. He'll lick you to death. But yeah, no, that's something that definitely, it does like obstruct you from wanting to do something outside. Cause maybe like, we were talking about like not everything has to look like the gym, but maybe you want to go outside. But then even then it's actually
then.
feels even more dangerous because you're actually exposed, like even more exposed.
Yes, you're vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, that's immediately what I thought of when I was picturing you saying all these activities you like to do. I was like, everything's outside.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like for cycling, I love to cycle and I do it often on the Silver Comet Trail. But at some point, the further you're out, the less people there are. So you're thinking about your safety, and if I'm going by myself, I make sure that I have my stun gun, unfortunately, but I'm trying to protect myself because the further out I am, and I'm not sure where I am. And then also the possibility of, like you said, a tire, having an incident with the cycle, just all of that, just making sure that I'm safe. But it's what I love to do, but I have to constantly think about, my surroundings.
Yeah. What are the consequences of me doing this activity that I want to do?
Exactly.
So unfair.
Exactly.
It's amazing intimidation is a huge factor. And I think it's a big, big barrier for us becoming fit.
Well, you want to know something that like personally has helped me a lot? And that's something
I would love to.
Yeah. It's actually like, in the last like maybe like 3 months or so, I've kind of started to I was going through this like phase of analysis of like, I was mentioning before, like,
why am I wasting my money?
Why am I wasting my money, right? And something that I noticed that's been really helpful for me is doing like group classes, because it actually makes it feel way less intimidating, because actually my gym, lucky enough, like it has different classes, and I know like all sorts, you don't have to be part of a gym, you can do like memberships in other places or whatever. But essentially there's classes that I take, and it's really nice because for the most part, the instructors are women. So they're actually formulating, the exercises to stuff that make us feel, like good and like target the areas, that we want to do. And also like they have modifications and this, so it feels very doable. And it feels like, okay, like if I go, I know I'm going to get something good in. I'm going to actually do a workout that I'll feel it will challenge me, but also not feel like too bad either, where I can't get out of bed tomorrow morning, right? So it's kind of like a really good balance. But what's also cool too is you have that community, like the community you're building, because you see 30 other women in the class too. So it's like, oh, if I'm struggling, I see like my neighbor next to me and we're like struggling, high-fiving each other, and like, it's like feels like empowering. It's like, and it just feels like, oh, okay, like we're all in it together. We're all like, we have one more set of this workout, and I'm like, dying, like sweating coming down my face, but all the other women around me are doing it as well. So it feels very like good. I feel like, it feels less intimidating because I'm doing it with other people.
Well, and I have to agree, because I do love classes, but I really, really love resistance. Like I love weight training, and I love that aspect of the gym. But like I said, walking in by myself, whether I know what I'm doing or not, it's anxiety instantly. And I was just, when you were saying that, I was like, right, because when I walk into a gym, like my big brother and I will work out. When I go home, I'll go to his gym. And in the first time, we would go every day together, and I didn't think about it. I was comfortable and we got good workouts in. And then this past visit, I went home thinking, oh, I'm going to get good workouts in. And he was sick. And so he was like, but you can go ahead and go. And I'm like, okay. And I go in and all of a sudden I freeze. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable. I just stopped going because I was like, well, if he's not here, I don't feel secure, you know? But for some reason with my brother next to me, I felt comfortable. Or sometimes if I go to the gym with Greg, I'm instantly comfortable because no one's going to approach me with my brother or Greg next to me. You know what I mean? They typically leave you alone. And just like, I think that's why women gravitate towards the group fitness classes, is because it's a safe space.
Yeah.
But why is that gym not so safe for us? But I think that the important thing for us to take away from this and is to talk to Greg about why fitness doesn't have to even look like the gym. And it's something that it's hard to wrap our heads around because it's so ingrained that we have to do X, Y, and Z to achieve a good workout, but Zero Sweat Fitness says otherwise. So let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Greg and see what he has to say about a different look and a different approach to fitness altogether.
Hey, Jamie, how are you?
Hey, welcome, Greg.
Listen, I understand listening to you guys talk about the intimidation factor. And of course, from my perspective, obviously, I don't share the same views being a male and also knowing what to do once I'm in there. But I see it all the time. I see men who have very little knowledge about what they're doing, trying to give corrections and advice to women in the gym. And there is an ulterior motive. I'll tell you that for a fact. I mean, because other than that, they're obviously not trainers and they don't know what they're doing. But they are doing it because it gives them an opportunity to, or an entree to possibly meeting someone at the gym. But the look that Zero Sweat has is it's something you can do anytime and all the time without the gym. I'm not saying that you need to get rid of your gym membership. It's certainly something that is good to use. And let's say if you're on vacation, I notice a lot of people like to try and start something new, i.e. exercise, when they're on vacation because they have plenty of time. And also on the cruise or something, they want to use facilities because facilities are getting much better. And the one point you did make, which is true, when equipment manufacturers put together their pieces of equipment, they have to use a framework or a model to do that. And it is a male 5'9", 5'10". So the equipment is not made or designed with women in mind. There used to be a manufacturer of equipment called Nautilus, and they actually produced a line of equipment geared for women. But that was a long time ago, and for some reason it really never caught on, so they stopped producing that equipment. But the concept was really good. Now, aside from that, Zero Sweat is all about movement throughout your day. We spend most of our time sitting. Yeah.
As we're doing now, we're demonstrating for you.
Yeah. And it's not just time at work, it's also commuting. The average commute time is 45 minutes to an hour. That's one way. So you have commute time, and if you're east, if you're in New York, you're talking about longer, hour and a half, up to 2 hours of commute time. That's 4 hours of sitting.
If there's a bad accident in Atlanta, I would argue we fix that too sometimes.
Exactly. And it's too much. And so people think that they can make that up by a rigorous exercise routine, let's say an hour a day. But as we say, the math doesn't math. And there's no way you can offset 12 hours of sedentary behavior with an hour of intense training. It doesn't work. So either you compensate by limiting your food intake, or you find a way to increase caloric expenditure. And that's where Zero Sweat Fitness comes in, because it allows you to make efficient use of those sedentary moments by moving. And that's why we call it the movement revolution, because the goal is to have you move as much as possible while you're in a sedentary position.
And one thing I learned from you, Greg, when we were talking about this whole concept from the very beginning that I find comforting, and I think other women will too, is that although we're going to break away at the end of each of these episodes and show you specific movements, what I understand from you is that any movement, just move in whatever way you feel comfortable or in whatever way is appropriate in the given environment. If you're in a conference meeting or whatever, and you say you can't just do some tricep dips off of a chair, you can do anything. So that to me is encouraging, because we don't necessarily have to feel that pressure of, well, what do I do? Even though you're going to show us, and at the end of every episode you give us some tips and some examples, it's nice to know that it doesn't even matter. It can be as subtle as long as we just keep moving.
Because what it is, this low intensity, and that's why zero sweat, you're not going to be sweating on any of these activities or movements that you're doing. But the idea is movement over time. So if I'm looking at even 50 calories, additional calories an hour, that adds up significantly over the span of a day. Now, you're not going to drop a pound in a day, but over time, you're going to continue to lose weight just by incorporating additional movement in your life throughout the day.
Just hearing you say this makes me want to move. I'm like, I need to be moving. I need to capitalize on this. Well, this is awesome, Greg. It's very encouraging, and I'm hoping that women everywhere, and men will catch on to this, because I do think, not just from a caloric expenditure concept, which is very important to us, but also from what we were saying earlier, as we age, we have to keep our bodies moving. And this whole concept of the movement revolution and finding ways to move when we're otherwise just sitting still, to me, sounds life-changing. So thank you so much, Greg, for introducing us to this concept and joining us again. And thank you, ladies, for sharing your intimidation experience in the gym. And let's now go ahead and take a look at some of those exercises that we can, not exercises, sorry, Greg, movements that we can do in our sedentary times. Thanks for joining. Welcome back to Zero Sweat Fitness. In our last episode, we talked about simple movements you can do at home or at your desk to increase your daily activity. Today, we're taking it a step further and focusing on how you can stay active while running errands. Whether you're at the grocery store, waiting in line, or just walking to your car, these little movements can help keep you active and healthy. Let's get started. Let's start with something fun you can do while grocery shopping. While waiting in line, try doing some calf raises. Stand up on your toes, hold for a second, and then slowly lower your heels back to the ground. Keep your ankles centered between the first and second toe. Next, if you're standing in line waiting for something, which we do all the time, try doing some side steps. Simply step to the side, bring your feet together, and repeat in the opposite direction. It's a low-impact way to stay moving and keep your blood flowing. Let's talk about lunges. As you walk back to your car, try incorporating a few walking lunges. Take a big step forward, lower your back knee towards the ground, and then push off your front foot to stand back up. Alternate legs as you walk. Make sure you stay within your comfortable range of motion to avoid injury. This will give your legs and glutes a good workout. Carrying grocery bags? Perfect. Use this opportunity to do some shoulder squeezes. As you walk, squeeze your shoulders towards your ears. This helps relieve tension, and we could all use a little of that for sure. For each of these movements, it's important to maintain good posture. Keep your core engaged during the lunges to protect your lower back, and make sure your knees stay behind your toes while doing your calf raises. When performing shoulder squeezes, focus on controlled movements to avoid straining your neck. These movements are super easy to incorporate into your routine. For example, do a few calf raises every time you're waiting in line. Or try lunges when you're in a large parking lot with a bit of space. The goal is to find little pockets of time to stay active, even on a busy day. By staying active during errands, you're not only burning extra calories, but also keeping your muscles engaged and improving your overall fitness. These small movements can help you feel more energized and less stiff, especially if you're someone who spends a lot of time sitting during the day, which is most of us. Today's question comes from Pedro. Is it okay to do these movements in public? I feel a little self-conscious. Great question. Remember, these movements are small and subtle. Most people won't even notice. They're so in their own world. And if they do, they might even be inspired to join in. The important thing is that you're taking steps to improve your health, so go for it. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future tips on staying active and healthy. Leave a comment below if you have any questions or suggestions for our next episode. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and share it with somebody who could use a little extra activity in their day. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.